go ahead and lock that one in.
I gotta be honest, I always want to forget that Ashe is the champion in this meta, but good call by RA. Yeah, good call by RA to go for it, and just the amount that it brings to that bottom lane. For BLG, you would just expect they look to take away the Varus here. They do end up going for that. So we still have jungle left open. We still have top lane. Again, we highlighted the Ksante, especially with the amount of top lane bans coming on through. When looking at Leyan, he's really been someone who's gravitated heavily towards the buy this split. But a lot of times when you get the Maokai, you do usually see the Sejuani answer coming on through. So jungle gonna be what's to come here. And then, I mean, if they want to go for their bot laner with Varus already picked up, right? We've been seeing a really heavy rise in things like the Jhin rise still left on the table. So I think that'd also be a really good pickup for Strive if they just want to then save AD carry for later on in the draft. You still do have a few things open that you can pair this Ashe with.
And I like leaving that kind of on the table to some extent because it can't. Well, the Rise was it, but then nope, it's the Ksante. It's still on the board. We got to take it. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to kind of this second phase game plan, I guess, from RA. Specifically now that they kind of have that forward aggression for Leyan on the Wukong. And it's the Jayce right now as an answer for BLG, while again, still potentially flexible. I don't see that one as much flexible as Ksante was already picked.
I will, yeah, like, it could go in that top lane matchup, but I like to hit the nail on the head because, I mean, Bin hasn't even played Jayce this split. Yagao's played it twice. So very much a pick that can go towards that mid lane. Now you would expect BLG to want to use at least their second ban to maybe pinch AD carry a little bit more. Jhin already being something that we've highlighted. I guess you do also still have like other things like the Caitlyn there as well if you really wanted to take that off the table. To where for RA, it seems like they are reading for BLG that this is going to go towards the mid lane. You have the Maokai, so it's just up for the potential of the two AD soul laners to come out. So banning out some of Bin's more well-known, I mean his most well-known champion, honestly, the Camille.
You gotta get some respect.
Good call.
Yeah. I think it's a great call from RA, and it is also leading towards the signs that we'll get for the second phase at the end here. Are we going to join that table against Strive? Something that he's also been very, very much leaning into, and it's something that also just works really well with that combination of Leyan and Strive that we were talking about earlier. That cohesion from the mid lane to kind of shore up some of the aggressive moves from Leyan as well. But this last ban, I would wonder if it does still go to this top lane matchup and maybe take something away. No, it's the bottom side matchup. The Heimerdinger that usually goes with the Varus had to be taken out of there.
I think it's a good call. For BLG, you can still flex Varus to support. It's not something we've seen on Do, but that potential is there. Karma's been another one we've seen typically when it's like, okay, Heimer, Ashe, these two, if one of them's off the table, you can go for that. And I would think you would want to look towards that support pick. And again, you can keep hiding that potential of, you know, Bin potentially bringing up the Jayce, but they don't care about doing that.
No,
Bin is just going to go into the Gwen, so we at least have our solo lane matchups fleshed out. And now for RA, we've already speculated on Jhin being one of the things that they can go for. Sivir would enable them more to just go for that style of being able to run down to BLG's composition. And with BLG looking to play a lot with range, right, Varus and Jayce, I mean, having that on the hunt is going to provide tremendous value.
And for Strive himself, I mean, he still has another comfort pick, at least on the season for him here on the Sylas, maybe getting those Nature's Grasps, things like that away, the Chains of Corruption even. But I would expect something like this, a little bit more of that aggressive focus in the mid lane for Strive, and it is going to be so. So now, with knowing where this Gwen is going, it will be the Caitlyn locked in with the Varus combo.
Yeah, you would expect On to be the one piloting the Varus and Elk to take the Caitlyn. I kind of think that is a bit better. Varus doing more later on as a support in my mind than what Caitlyn would do. Caitlyn, if taken into the support role, I mean, you know, you have very strong like first two levels, so we're going to see what BLG opt into with who takes what in the bot lane. But looking at the comps we hit on, for BLG, a lot of playing with range. You have a ton of zone control coming out from Maokai. Even just Gwen's presence, putting up that hollowed mist and standing in front of people like Yagao, like Elk, is going to do a lot.
Order of the standings. We got the battles of the junglers, Leyan versus Sssum, and it's going to be a fun one, Lyric.
I'm excited. I mean, both of these guys have been standouts over the past 2 years. Sssum, I mean, being really the only bright spot on that IG squad of the past few years. Leyan on the upset. Oh, wait, MAzel. We're already getting action. Not
Can
even
we
a
get
minute
sound
into the game.
effects? What's the oof sound effect that we need? Can we please get that? Because Elk's going to need that. That flash will absolutely be returned to in the early part of the game.
I mean, you were already hitting on it, right? When you have this bot lane, Varus, Caitlyn, I mean, Ashe will just provide utility later on in the game. Having Caitlyn in that support role, it's really just about finding and snowballing that early lead that you can get. So the fact that they've already burned one summoner down in that bot lane, I think it's going to be huge. You know Shun, it's all about mid and bot for him. You really shouldn't pay any attention towards top lane, leave Bin on that island, trying to enable Elkinon to get that push, and even just hover around mid, making sure that Leyan and Strive can't find any ganks off onto Yagao, and you know, set him behind from also finding his own semblance of lane domination.
And I actually want to return to a point about this bottom lane. Maybe I'm just blind. Double Hail of Blaze bot lane, man. That is aggression at those attack hits. And you saw actually it be used pretty heavily on the Southwind as well. And so that's a little bit of something I want to keep an eye on, and how worth this double Hail of Blades bot lane is going to be for BLG.
I mean, we can see it now, right? BLG have the favored bot lane matchup. They're going to be able to get pushed. They're going to be able to find these trades. They have range advantage. The Hail of Blades only going to supplement the damage even more. And it's really going to be about Sssum and Southwind just looking to survive. So that's why for Leyan, it's going to be about early ganks, and we can already see him looking for an opportunity down here in bot lane. There is a ward, though. They would be able to spot him out.
Elk not having flash is just like an open wound to a predator in the wild here. And he is an elk, so maybe it's just a little bit of a wound on a wild animal itself, as Leyan will make his presence known, finding Elk. They are all inning on the bot lane for BLG. They get one kill. Can they find two? Are they going to give it to Sssum is the big question now, as inevitability is the key. 2-0 for RA early on.
Leyan recognizing you need to go for this, or our bot lane's going to be forced to recall so early on. Elk's going to start building a massive advantage, and they prevent that one from going down. He's even pushing out the wave right now to make sure that that's going on. And, you know, we kind of pan up to this top lane matchup. Ksante, 6 wins against only 2 for Gwen. This has been one of like the weirdest answers coming from LPL teams. We've seen it does well in the laning phase, but still, you know, I don't know why our observer brought us to top lane just to come right back down. I love that they use the heal here to close the gap, and Sssum is so willing to go with that flash to get the kill, because they know it's guaranteed, right? The Varus not having flash, it doesn't matter if you're expending all these summoners. There's really no gamble there. And the fact that they're able to turn straight back onto that Caitlyn and Southwind didn't go down is huge.
And the fact that you get Leyan some resources, you get Sssum some resources, it's just going to enable Leyan to be that aggressive forward front for RA here on the Wukong. So I expect much more proactivity coming from the RA side, but that means that you have to look at the other side where the quietness from the trees. Shun on the Maokai, not necessarily needing to get anything super proactive. Maybe towards his bottom lane he does, but I see him hovering down this way. We'll see if he actually gets anything going for BLG's side at least.
Hover is the key word, because it should be pretty hard to find these gank opportunities just from the fact that Elk and On will be consistently pushing in this lane. But just making sure they have vision control, allowing them to have this isolated 2v2 where they went out, and making sure that Leyan can intervene is going to be Shun's whole mission this game.
All right, see that aggression for Elkinon doing well with this Caitlyn Varus bottom lane, even though they have been put back. That's a gigantic stacking lane towards the bottom side of the map. It actually looks like Shun will be backing off. A trap line coming out here. Southwind and Azul just trying to get as much as they can on the bottom side. But now Dragon is being spawned on the map with all this pressure on the bottom side for BLG. Do you expect there to be an early Dragon focus for this squad as Barrier actually gets popped from both sides?
I think there should be. I mean, when you have a bot lane that's winning so hard, when you have a mid lane as well that will be able to keep up prio. Strive just got the wave pushed in right now because he recalled and TP'd it first, but you know, once the lane state neutralizes, Yagao will once again be able to maintain push. But look, RA might not even let that happen. They might just keep trying to find these ganks in bot before BLG can even try to use the amount of pressure their bot lane has into an objective. But with Shun coming down here right now, this might be an opportunity that they can find this.
So it should be just the give of the dragon over to BLG early on. I just saw that Strive hit level 6 in the mid lane. We actually got to see him a little bit on a roam in that moment. I actually think some of that movement from the mid lane is super good. But also, little point on Strive. This is now his 100th game in the LPL. So congratulations to Strive. And
that's so
we'll see
crazy
if he
to me.
can.
I just,
Right?
like, I can't even believe it. It still feels like he just came in the other day. Yeah, it still feels like he just came in the other day. 100 games. I mean, it just shows how many games we have in LPL every single day. Doesn't feel as bad this split because you know, we've upped the casting team quite a bit, and I don't have to cast every day,
for sure. But I think it's cool to see, you know, an RA developmental piece from the LDL roster be brought up, right? And to have this, I mean, he's been called up since 2021, right? It's not any time new, like you're saying. 100th game of the LPL feels like yesterday, but being called up in 2021 is kind of huge. And see if he has any influence here, as it doesn't matter, because Shun and On, they want some revenge. And they say, you know, you got my flash for my ADC, let's see if I can get yours. As Southwind will have to burn that one. And both summoner spells on the bottom side for RA are gone.
They get both summoners, but the fact that Aston and Southwind have been keeping up pretty decently in farm, 9, you know, so a little bit more than a wave down, I think is still a tremendous effort. A lot of that being owed to, again, the amount of attention Leyan's put. So nice to see that Shun has finally been able to find, you know, a timing of his own to impact the spot lane matchup. And I mean, for BLG, again, I feel like a lot of it is just wanting those lanes to be able to play out stock and standard. They have been doing a good job of keeping a vision in the spot side river, but Leyan has just done such a good job of, hey, I mean, you're pushed up so far, I can just play with these like windows and try brush. We're gonna have Southwind clear this out, and then you can just outright look for the gank on the lane, and it doesn't matter if you have those wards there. You'll be able to close that distance in time. With summoners on the side of BLG, their bot lane should be a little more safe. But we know that's where Leyan's just gonna keep going back. So it's just one of those games. It's one of those games where like the win cons of what the teams want in the early game are just so straightforward that it's kind of hard to talk about anything else. Is look, he's back here again.
It's like a well. You just keep, you know, the bucket's there. You do a little crank on the wooden thing, whatever, that lowers it. You get some water. You pull it back up. You see if you got anything. Leyan this time might go a little dry in his bucket. As Elk and On playing pretty safe. But you don't understand how a well works?
I mean, I do, but I feel like this analogy is pretty dated. Pretty past its time.
No way. You wouldn't say that a well is dated. Wow, you're just on point, huh? It's just working out. I think you're buying into it here. But Leyan is buying into the aggression as he's going for the blue buff take here, as Shun had just reset. He's not going to be able to save his blue buff today, but maybe On and Elk can.
Looks like they're going to try and stop the one out. BLG knowing since Shun goes for that retail and contested that Leyan will be doing something on the bottom half of the map. And if he isn't showing in his own lane, it should be going in that jungle. So there it is, Strive's 100th game in the LPL. And he's been doing good to, you know, get through this laning phase. Him and Yagao completely even. He's found some opportunities where he's at least been able to hover over down for his bottom lane, and looks like he's going to be able to keep up that momentum. He's the most MVPs on RA as well this split, sitting at 4, so he's been the big catalyst in a lot of their victories.
Which is just a nice little caveat to the fact that RA are in such a positive position going at the end of week number 5. So we'll see, as it has been this kind of calm early game, as the kind of response from BLG, even though we would say we want them to kind of press down Elk and On and get as much as they can early on, shouldn't have really been resigned to kind of just farming up and hoping that some of this late game works out for them. And that's where I do want to talk about next, because you have this Rift Herald, you have some potential late game machinations here for BLG. Where would you like to see these resources go?
I mean, it has to be bot. Like, you really don't even have any other choice. And I even feel like this game keeps going on a steady pace with it being even. Already have more than enough tools to find the engages that they want later on. They pick potential, like with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. They have so many forms of engage to be able to get on that back line. So BLG, I think, wanting a bit more of a snowball. They'll still have a ton of damage later on, especially coming out from that Jayce.
When I have a question, sir, I have a question. When does Gwen become immune?
I mean,
like, I got you with that one.
The problem is, it's like, also, when does Ksante become immune? And I feel like the answer's already is wait.
He had to burn the heal. I was going to say, one of these summoner spells is about to come out from Elk.
Still at least doesn't go down. Shun might be able to abuse
Nature's
this.
Grasp. Oh, God. Southwind taking a brunt here. As Sssum had already used the heal, the barrier comes out as well. Elk will get the first kill for BLG. RA want to respond with a Nature's Grasp of their own. Take a nice little pop shot from Yagao on the back. Oh no, the Boomerang Blade gets the barrier back. Man, summoner spells being burned all over the place here. Leyan takes that little extra. Oh my God. You did not expect there to be a sapling there, even though there was warding.
Not even able to correctly dodge out with that clone. We'll just take the brunt of that damage. So we'll just go straight to his Krugs and, you know, try to get some of this back, get some gold, and probably look for a reset. He's sitting incredibly close to his Mythic, which, speaking of, Sssum did just pick up his Kraken Slayer. So on a pretty good pace to just be able to shred the members of BLG. We know what Sivir can do if, you know, you get in range, these clumped up team fights with those ricochets online. And just across the board, MAzel, we're hitting the point of first items coming out for a lot of key members on both sides.
This Yagao Eclipse is going to actually pay so many dividends. And Shun actually utilizing this Rift Herald in mid lane. Potentially get some plates down and relieve a little bit of pressure in mid lane as well. Because I feel like Strive definitely has had a little bit of strength, a little bit of presence, a little bit of priority in that mid lane. And now BLG with that first dragon, maybe they look to start stacking some more of the presence from bot lane, but Enchanted Crystal Arrow comes on to On. Getting tanked down, and On is just gone on the bot side. Elk is gone too. What happened to the bottom lane of BLG? Are we filing a missing persons report?
I mean, Leyan, I don't know how he ended up finding Elk, but On aggressively walking up to take vision. Sure, he's technically not alone because there's two members standing behind him, but you're still a squishy Caitlyn. Is Southwind now?
Southwind preemptively flashing. Might want to actually contest this one, Leyan. Oh, they're actually going in onto Southwind. They might find Sssum too. This is not the day to be a bot laner. This has been absolutely chaotic, and this is actually a shutdown that would go over to Yagao, and it does. 450 gold. And we got chaos. Crazy is our game, Lyric.
I love how Leyan had already invested so much. She's like, you know what? Dragon's already just a couple hundred HP. Sorry, boyos, you are done for, and just finishes off the objective. So very goal-oriented human being, Leyan.
Is that what it is?
We respect that. As we're going to see here how this pick comes off. Elk thinks he finds the opportunity to go for the solo kill, and a bit of a bait from Sssum buys time for Leyan to just jump in there and just swindle that one out from right under him.
Holy cow, look at this. Ooh, Enchanted Crystal Arrow did come across there, but they got a little bit of a lane swap. They sent Elk towards mid lane. They brought down On here to take down some more plates in bottom lane. So actually a decent gold lead developed here early on from BLG, even with some of this early advantage that RA had cultivated for themselves. I will say though, Roa started to stack up for Strive does mean, you know, they are stacking up their late game here, Lyric.
And when it comes to like just outright scaling, I mean, we hit on it. There's some decent damage on both sides. I do feel like I'd favor RA a bit more with like things like the Sivir and the Sylas, but all of it's going to come down to like the formations and the setups for fights. Again, can RA close those gaps? Can BLG keep them at bay and not give over picks? We've seen Southwind though. I love how willing he's been to throw out the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Because sure, like we've seen some like the last one miss, but we've seen a lot of them hit their target, set up for picks onto people like on or around that mid lane. And it's just always going to give RA an avenue to find the engages and to set up fights that they want.
We're actually looking at a setup fight around here from Southwind, taking a decent chunk from the ace in the hole. That Nature's Grasp, he couldn't see it through the wall. That was actually so huge from Shun. As Leyan was doing the Rift Herald. It's a little bit baited back in bot lane.
He's having a free time with his bot lane turret. BLG, I mean, with the fact that they found that pick, there's no numbers advantage on top side for RA, and they can at least buy time and dissuade them from taking that Herald.
Wow, what a play. And Yagao will just be putting down a second tier tower. What a heads up play from BLG, and that's some of that map play that has now earned them a 4,000 gold lead in 15 minutes.
BLG, great job RA were the ones finding all the early game picks, but just some of these map movements, keeping Yagao down towards that bot lane after those 2 picks. We did see BLG trade that for Dragon. Now this play around Herald, where, I mean, RA weren't expecting that 1 pick to come off, and now opening up a second turret for Yagao on bot side. He now not only has that Eclipse, but picking up a second item as well. Yagao's just going to be such a menace to deal with as the game goes. Hell, he's a menace to deal with right now.
I was going to say that it's crazy to me with some of the trials that we have talked about for BLG that Yagao has seemingly had not that many big standout moments. This guy was literally the champion in summer of LPL 2022, and it's nice to see a performance like this where you're getting a little bit of resources and he's actually slamming it home with a lot of the macro decisions.
It wasn't even. I'll pause on my point because
nope.
Good diligence by him, but it wasn't even like 2020, where 2020, I think it'd like be fair to say that Yagao wasn't a focal point of JDG in their championship run, right? It was all about Kanavi. He did have the standout games on LeBlanc and Zoe, but beyond that, you know, he was an above average mid laner. 2022 summer, Yagao was one of the strong forces on the team, consistently finding advantages. And the fact that we haven't gotten to see him at least be a huge standout for this BLG squad just yet, I think has been a little bit tragic. So him being able to, you know, again, if he can take over this game with the amount of resources that have been funneled into him, that would be a great showing from him in 2023.
Absolutely, and you're starting to see some of this poke game, the realization that this was the strategy here for BLG, and they're executing on it. These health bars are not going to stand for long unless they can get an engage like this one. And when you're CC'd that long, you ain't got no chance, Elk. As Han will go over the wall, deny the caliber net, but flashing might get out. Leyan gets a double kill, flashing out himself as well. RA punish the bottom lane of BLG.
3-0-2 on the Wukong. This is why we were highlighting Leyan being one of the people to watch. Leyan and Shun really have been the ones setting their teams up for success. And for Leyan, it's actually mostly just been about setting himself up and abusing the positioning coming out from BLG. That's why no matter the gold lead that we see on board for BLG right now, you can't count RA out with the composition that they drafted, with how easily they can set up some of these kills. We're going to go straight into the replay because BLG, feeling like they have positional advantage, they already have vision control in River, but Elk, you could say walks too far forward, but anywhere on the map is too far forward when you're going up against an enchanted crystal arrow, and Leyan can just traverse so much distance to finish off these kills.
One thing I've really appreciated in this game so far has just been the use of, and it's been something that we've been seeing a lot of priority on recently, but the use of terrain to kind of block a lot of these abilities, right? Like Shun going over the wall to Nature's Grasp. That one utilizing a little bit more of the vision game there with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, but it's been really fun to watch them kind of pick apart these angles within the game with a lot of these setup tools.
Definitely has. The champions in the meta right now, I mean, just giving you so many windows to be able to do that. And I mean, on the opposite side for BLG, you actually don't have as many of those tools. I guess, like you said, Nature's Grasp. Yeah, you could do some pretty interesting things from Fog of War with like the amount of poke you have, right? Like an accelerated shot glass could just come out of nowhere if BLG already have control and a denied vision in that area. And it looks like that's what BLG's mode is right now. Get vision reestablished, deny some vision from the side of RA. They've got a defensive vision line set up towards their own jungle and top side. And we can see Ben getting some of his own wards set up for him, so we can split push while BLG tries to set up for a Herald on top side.
That Herald's actually caught my eye here, trying to figure out where Shun's going to decide to use this one.
Baron coming up, and
but Shun has Herald in his pocket, so he's got to use this at some point. Looks like it's going to go to the mid lane. And it's going to be a rough time for the second Herald to try to get a charge on the tier 2 tower. We'll see if they can kind of escort this one in, especially that Ben has joined the fight here.
You're against the Sivir. There's
come on, come on,
Guard?
you can do it. Let's go! Okay, I'm a little excited, but you know the Enchanted Crystal Arrow is exciting for RA as they move in onto On, and everyone's left you On. You ain't got no teammates, and that'll be a kill to RA.
RA just doing a great job with their patience and waiting for these opportunities to present themselves. BLG at least still get the charge of the Herald. I feel that's something that RA could have prevented if they wanted. I even think like Leyan had smite up, could have gotten a little bit more damage onto that one. But in the end, BLG get a charge, RA get a pick going over to their side. Gold is still that just under 4K gold lead, so it has diminished a little bit, but it's been about this for the past 5 minutes. And for RA's side, they still have a lot of these, like, hell, they have all the tier 1s open on the side of BLG. So there's a lot of standing gold that if RA can start converting these picks into more, that this gold lead should at least start to dwindle, and RA will, you know, again, start equalizing that.
Mm-hmm. As always, obviously, something to keep an eye out. A little bit of timer that we always have. But I do see Natural Tooth actually completed second for Ben. So a little bit more priority in pushing those quick side lanes, if anything. And I think that second item completion is now that Muramana has been upgraded into it. And now you get those second item completions. I'm actually looking at the next kind of movements around the map. This control has been really good from BLG in terms of vision, but they're at a little bit of a standstill. And again, we continue to highlight the fact that RA are fine.
I don't feel like BLG even have that many options in terms of like what team should be looking at right now. For RA, there's a few. Like, you can just set up an Enchanted Crystal Arrow play onto the Jayce side lane, try to take advantage of that. We can start seeing Leyan and Southwind link up, and maybe you look for that pick on mid lane after Stride pushes outside. Like, RA have a few options to look for those picks. BLG, your composition is kind of all about getting grouped up in front of a structure, right? In front of a turret, and being able to siege that one down. With mid and bot already broken down.
Yagao has some teammates coming. They've committed to come and help him. TP will be utilized from Ben, but he is already in the dirt. Maybe they'll put Strive right next to him here. Strive getting low, but that Kingslayer huge, and then being able to go golden to block him. It didn't matter. Ben wanted your head, and he snips it right off.
So BLG able to punish with the TPs the pick and top side that we were highlighting RA could go for. So they will be able to convert this. But look at mid and bot. RA coming with decent responses. Should even be able to get 2 turrets here. So overall, again, the gold lead just continuing to dwindle down.
Yeah, slowly taking chunks at it, but I guess I feel like RA are in a pretty good position to contest this next dragon. I mean, you can obviously see BLG are putting a lot of eggs in this basket right now. Maybe a lot of dragon eggs. As we got 20 seconds, and they're trying to get in position to get this vision game, to get this poke game down, and RA not wanting to let that happen.
Right, when we're in neutral map states, I feel like that's when RA are the ones with options. When we're in front of neutral objectives, though, that's where BLG's comp can try to get some of this damage down and convert it into a teamfight win. Leyan already taken quite low. It's going to be all about if they can zone them out, or if Leyan can find this pick.
He's looking for a flank. He's going to find Shun and Ben on the side that BLG have nicely positioned, because Leyan has to get out of there. Cube taking the brunt of the focus of BLG as the rest of RA running away and giving BLG front and center positioning around this dragon will be sole point for BLG.
The big thing feels like the fact that Leyan got chunked out before, you know, we even got to the dragon standoff, and BLG's positioning with, you know, the 3 squishy members is, I gotta pause.
That's a needlework. Cube! Oh, he's doing so much damage right now. Solo bolo to Ben.
Cube was already at, you know, 30% HP. Overzealous staying on the map there, I believe, trying to go for those Krugs, and Ben just punishing him.
He melted him.
Yeah, I mean, you just can't go for that. And speaking of melted, Strive.
Strive's trying to make something happen here, but yeah, let's just wait for it to come out of his golden hour. And Strive will go down to Yagao. Now Enchanted Crystal Arrow coming across. Elk had almost died as well. He just burned his flash. They see him. Leyan wants to get him, but the warding there, the river, makes it to where Elk knows and gets out.
But to go back to a point of earlier, right? When we're in situations like this, where there's no neutral up, we're kind of at a point where it's really hard for BLG's core carries to get in front of. Oh, maybe no time to sell.
Sssum. That Nature's Grasp from the sides was actually huge. Sssum goes down, and now Southwind flashing over the wall. He runs into a sapling. Oh no!
This is Barrett.
The jungle is out to get you.
BLG, they're gonna be able to go for this. I guess Leyan can hope for a steal. No flash on his end. It's going to be a bit rough. I don't know really what else you can go for. It's either back off and just kind of accept that BLG are going to be able to push this game forward now with the amount of wave clear, with the amount of siege they have, with a Baron. Yeah, this is BLG's big chance to choke them out.
They were taking chunks out of the lead, but that lead just bursted open for BLG. And we put so many thoughts into kind of this RA composition, saying early on, you know, being even with this bottom lane of BLG was fine. We were taking some advantage with Leyan, getting some scale going, but man, this is such a big lead that BLG have built for themselves now. in this little mid game by getting catch shots like this.
This was huge. I actually can't believe this one got off. It was literally all down to Shun's ultimate, or they would have both been able to get away. Just so many long-range pick tools coming out in this meta. Great by BLG. I didn't think picks like that were going to be possible for them, just with, again, like the champions they were able to put together, unless RA made egregious mistakes. But that was a really nice one, and now we said the composition with this Baron is going to be able to get in front of turrets and just start melting these down. Yagao's going to be able to start getting so much value, especially with the Sorelda's Grudge online, getting these health bars low, and just expanding this gold lead.
Big thing is, though, you still have to rely on Sssum to have that wave clear here. He has hit 3 items. He's on the Bloodthirster, but oh my god! Southwind does not have the Bloodthirster. It does not have any help. That is a kill down now, a 4v5 in favor of BLG.
They're just going to be able to keep laying down.
Almost a 4v5.
Look at Sssum.
5v3.
Look at Assum's health bar after that accelerated shock blast. They're going to push this one in. They have been pressuring on sides. A really nice 2-lane setup. He has a few minions to play with as well. The Baroned Up Cannon, which should buy him time, bring Cube over to that lane, and allow BLG to just take
They hit the
this
Chains of Corruption there, but it goes on to the clone. Leyan will not get baited out there. Nature's Grasp does get stolen by Strive, and Chance of Crusader just a little bit off. So now damage coming back, and Sssum about half health yet again. Oh, he's just dead. Yagao is a sniper with those accelerated shock blasts. Nature's Grasp just comes out in desperation. The Roots are trying to fight back, but there ain't no fighting when Yagao comes to town. What a standout from this guy on the Jayce in the mid lane. We said we needed standout performances. I know he doesn't listen to us, but my God, he is doing that right now.
And they're just going to be able to potentially look for the end. Already breaking this one down. Can RA stop it? I don't think so.
BLG, they execute on this composition. They get the strength they need from their mid laner Yagao, the setup from Shun, and some solidifying from Bit at the top side. And game number 1 will slowly but surely, with one more kill to Yagao, go to BLG.
BLG having some beautiful looks in this game. Shun, I mean, being that facilitator at a lot of great ultis. You were highlighting some of the ones from, like, you know, Fog of War, setting up some of those picks early on. Even later, like that one pick in mid lane on, who was it, Sssum and Southwind?
Yeah.
That in my mind was huge because those 5-minute windows between dragons are theoretically the times where I feel like RA's composition has more tools. We talked about the options that they had, you know, like a few minutes before, and to where that's where it would feel a bit harder for BLG. So the fact that BLG spotted that window, set it up with the long-range poke, chunking them low into the Nature's Grasp, catching them out, amazing. And then the punishment in the combos from Yagao and L could be like accelerated shock blast, they're half HP. Oh, you know, arrow comes out from Varus. They're now 20% HP, and very easy then for either one of them to follow up and be able to just secure the kill. So BLG, like, we saw them get punished with good plays from RA, like in early to mid game, but BLG, I mean, they knew how to execute on this composition.
And a little thing in there as well, they were just utilizing their power spikes really well, especially that last one, right? Being able to catch out with those 3.5 item spikes in mid lane and being able to kind of have that standing blow where we were saying the whole time, when are we going to see Sssum come online? How are they going to facilitate this late game? And they made it to where it didn't matter. And I think a lot of that control with the Dragons early on, utilizing the priority in bot lane for that and kind of fighting over those. And even that very tough tussle in that last Dragon where they got soul point, I think was actually huge and showed a little bit of the, I guess, grit that BLG have shown in their positive wins.
And, right, it's one of the reasons why, no matter BLG's score being 3-3, BLG have genuinely been the team in the LPL that really has put up a fight against everyone, even in their 0-2 loss against EDG. Like, those were games where BLG had some great moments and BLG were able to push them. So it's nice to see them come out in this game, and especially for Yagao, as we were highlighting, after the split he had in 2022 summer, to really be able to come and put up a defining performance against a team like RA that is right now sitting in 6th, is 4-2 in the standings, who are going up against a stud in his own right in Strive, and Yagao was able to deliver.
Yeah, in his 100th game, too, delivered in that loss. So it's got to be a little addition to Yagao's repertoire here. But no, it really was the fact that we had this Jayce picked up in the first phase. had a little bit of flexibility in the draft. We were like, okay, this is probably going to Yagao. He gets it. It's a quiet early game. But then he starts racking up after having kept consistent in CS in the mid lane and utilizing some of the pressure that bot lane was exerting. And first of all, shouldn't set up across the board was really good. But to be able to slam that home again, you look at some of those numbers, really, really good stuff from Yagao. And answer needs to come out.
I think the big thing looking at those numbers is, again, it goes back to the fact that our for BLG, I mean, like, looking at them, like, sure, you have Elk and on, who, like, Elk is solid. You know, Elk can take over games, and he has been the one carrying a lot of BLG's wins. But still, you look at that top half of the map, and it really just is, I mean, so many, like, proven play. Even though Shun doesn't have any accolades under his belt, like, I mean, come on. Shun's passed the eye test now for so long, right? Like, you just have this strong top side, and they were the ones putting up those numbers.
I'm just saying, shouldn't number one fan here. I was just saying.
Yep.
Anyways, we got our break here. We're gonna